I once had a conversation with a person on YouTube who we went back and forth on some subjects about giving in, and he said something to the nature, "I'll starve first." And my response was, "I'll believe it when I see it. Give it a try." Because I almost guarantee after the fifth, or maybe after the seventh day, you'll do anything to get a bite to eat. You see, human beings, I don't think, or at least I would say 99.9%, probably higher, will not voluntarily starve to death. So I don't know if that's an example that there is no free will. But at the end of the day, it is about resources and ego and how to obtain resources. Now, in America, there are people who believe that um, they've been cheated out of their right to resources and that they are owed the right to other people's resources because basically they have been wronged and they have been denied what they believe is the right to thrive. I'm not saying whether they are not right or wrong. I am saying that let's see the evidence on that. If you believe that your group has been denied resources and should be given resources and the amount of resources, that's something that should be debated because that's kind of, I guess, I don't know what the legal terms are, but if it should be debated and lectured, let's examine the facts on that. Let's have a long examination of facts with comparative analysis and see where it comes out. I was on a few shows today. I was on one show, Chaotic Truth, and it was about Christopher Columbus, and it devolved into the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and they were talking about like Hamas and the Palestinians, and I guess for me, a moral group does not use human shields. And I kind of said the reason they use human shields is for PR purposes. They know the other group that they're fighting have somewhat of a moral compass, and they might hesitate to use it. And if they do, they know that they're going to look bad. And it wasn't me, it was Sam Harris that said this, and he said, if Israel the Jewish community used human shields, do you think that would deter the Palestinians at all? I don't think so. But the world has, or at least portions of the world, has seems to have lost its moral compass to a degree, and logic and reason have kind of gone out the window. And I've said before, America has been a stoic nation, but leftists make it less so, and it's less objective. It's less reasoned. It plays certain games. I remember on Facebook I was debating with a leftist, and she was hammering on about the Proud Boys, and she was happened to be from the UK, and she was like saying how evil the Proud Boys were. And then I asked her, being from the UK, what she thought about Muslim grooming gangs. I can't say the R word, but the Muslim grooming gangs that were attacking British girls. And she said the problem was nuanced. But with the Proud Boys, there is no nuance. They're all evil. They're not a group of people. Some have very nasty intent, and others not so much. I mean, leftists do go out and try to do harm, and they're not in favor of freedom of speech, and they are very much authoritarian. I also saw on YouTube, on Andy No's page, a group of Hamas supporters in Australia. I think they were saying, burn the Jews, and Antifa. Where was Antifa? Because in reality, these were like real Nazis. These were people who don't play, and they're tougher on average, and they're more fanatical than the Proud Boys are. They will fight to the death, and they have no hesitation in being brutal. So they can't play their games with this group. And it's kind of like you can call one group Nazis and punch a Nazi in the face, but when a group like when a group like like Hamas or people that support Palestine, when they act uh, the same way, they're not going to challenge them at all. Just goes to show you, either they're brainwashed or they're cowards. Probably a little bit of both. It's kind of the way of the world. And again, I was on Chaotic, and I still talk about this today. I see a lot of what I observe is cluster B behavior. And I'm not the one who pointed out that phrase, by the way. It was someone from Disaffected Podcast, and I think it's very true. A lot of toxic that is kind of hidden that is supposed to be virtuous, but it's not at all. It's very abusive. And again, we're seeing that play out today in a lot of our American streets, and a lot of them on Twitter. And it's as though they don't recognize, or how many people recognize the toxic behavior of a lot of these individuals. I've never seen anything like it in my life, or at least not that I haven't seen it, but I haven't. It surprises me how much power some of these toxic manipulators get. It just simply amazes me. But I imagine this is not the first time in history where toxic manipulators uh, have control and maintain things. And again, I had Chris Nelson on, and he talked about what he believed was kind of a toxic element within the within the Trump Trump supporters. That some of them are also perhaps toxic as well. And for me, I still believe, as I observe, that the left is still far more toxic than Trump supporters. And maybe it's because the left has power and the left has exerted its power to do harm. And they've done harm to really not strong or powerful people, but people who have a skin color that is seen as an oppressor group, and they act a certain way, and they are punished for that. And it's a very, I've heard that it's a very narcissistic thing, that a person will provoke you and then put you on camera when you're upset, and then film a narrative where you're the bad person, and then try to get you fired or shamed or humiliated. And it's surprising how much power uh, the social media has allowed this to happen, because they pick and choose what's to be accepted and what's not. And they've allowed an abusive group to go unpunished, while other groups that fight against it don't. And it's just kind of an observation. And first of all, I mean, I want to say on average, a lot of these people shouldn't be getting upset in the first place. I'm not saying that they're not wrong, but they are being provoked first, and the situation is only shown to be in a certain direction. And you see a narrative being pushed and cultural norms being done. And this is a rather unique time. And it seems rather abusive. And these people, the manner in which they act, are rather abusive. But sometimes there's not a whole hell of a lot that can be done with an abuser. And there are ways to minimize this abuse. Just to be aware of the abuse. Now, sometimes there's nothing you can do. You're going to be abused, or you're going to be, there are, just as there are wild animals out there that will go to hurt you, and unpredictable animals that could go to hurt you, there's also far more likely to be unpredictable human beings that will go to hurt you and do you harm. And the one thing about going online is you see the toxicity of the people online on either side of the spectrum. Like, because anytime you disagree with someone, you're likely to find a toxic element there. And if you kind of prepare yourself for the fact that some people are toxic and they're not open to the information that you're going to give them, and on average, the best thing to do is once you get that feeling and that response from them, you just keep it moving because you're not going to gain anything from this conversation. One of the things they teach you in anger management is, first of all, where is this conversation going? If the conversation is just going to insult, I mean, what are you going to trade insults with somebody? It's not going anywhere productive unless it's a comedy skit and you want, shows for clicks. But just know that you're not going to change anybody's opinion. And some of these people might just go to hurt you. And sometimes it's best to just keep it moving so you can, gain people that you agree with. And like I said, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do against certain groups that are toxic is to form economic alliances. That's just my personal opinion on that. Anyway, this has been Brian with Transparency and Merit. And I'm also have my Twitter handle, Walk Against the Woke. It's also Walk Woke. You can follow me there as well. And it just, again, my opinion, to strive to build economic alliances, not just in America, but around the world, particularly within the Anglosphere. There has been I believe, a very toxic group of people that have gained control. And do we really want to spend our money with people that are extremely vindictive and extremely toxic? I want to get to know people that are less toxic and less extreme. Anyway, again, this has been Brian with Transparency and Merit. Like, subscribe, and share the video if you gain anything from it. Thank you for listening.